The way that I look at AI very humbly is almost like hiring a way smarter, way younger, way faster person into my team.
When you get it to the place where it can basically fill in almost as an operations manager, as a coordinator, because the guest back and forth messaging is great, but there's the other facets of the business of coordinating the cleaning, the maintenance.
Our main goal is always continue improving the AI so that its capabilities are beyond what people expect them to be. And I think we're already at that point.
What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sjogren, here as always with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's up, E?
My brother, so good to see you. Our official first recording of 2025. I am super stoked.
This is a cool one, man. This is a hot topic.
It is.
AI in the new world, man. What these guys have done, we'll intro them in a second, but what these guys have done, I feel like they're really going to move things forward. And we were talking offline of just all the possibilities of where this can go. And it's just super exciting, dude. And just mind blowing, honestly, like what AI is capable of currently and where it's going to get to is just crazy.
Yeah. And for me, it's more awareness, right? Like the more you let yourself be aware of what's possible, the more you can find ways to cross-pollinate and really concentrate on hospitality. To me, that is the biggest leverage the AI gives us as hosts, is like, how do we dial in our hospitality more and more and remove the human error? And AI is never gonna let you down from that perspective, right? So I am super stoked. I always love when we have founders on that come from a place of finding something that they need to fix for themselves and in how they use that in creating their platform. And one of the things that I asked them is how did you see it make you better as a host? It's a smarter, quicker, younger employee that you're bringing on that learns super fast, knows everything, and it's amazing. So how do you level up?
That's it, man. That's it. So without further ado, today we've got Jay Ullrich and Sam Mays, the founders of HostBuddy. They also currently run a portfolio of over 40 doors, a mix of management and arbitrage. And what a HostBuddy is capable of is pretty mind-blowing. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. They were gracious enough to give us a discount code that you can listen for at the end. You get a free month trial with them and just test them out. But I'm super excited about this. Whether you're brand new and you've got one property or whether you got 50, this is a really cool tech platform that can get you so much time back. And to E's point, allow your team to focus more on the hospitality and the vision and the strategy for where you want to go instead of being in the weeds. So without further ado, let's welcome Jay and Sam to the show. All right, Jay and Sam, welcome to the show, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
you having
having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is HostBuddy? I love the logo, but what is HostBuddy AI?
Yeah, so HostBuddy AI is an automated AI messaging solution for short-term rental hosts. So we're hosts ourselves, and we built it to send messages automatically to all of our guests who are sitting within our property management system. So everything is done automatically. We've built out a lot of additional tools that go along with it. And a ton of fun integrations. So that's the basis of it. And I'm excited to dive into that today.
Okay, cool. So I know that you guys have an AI component. So what's the difference between HostBuddy and just say a lot of the automated messages that can go out with a PMS platform? Like what's different with you guys?
Yeah. So there's PMSs now that are implementing AI in a smaller scale, I'd say. As property managers ourselves, we use Hostfully, and I know we've seen the AI that they're using. And I think the main difference is the AI that we've developed sounds the most human on the market. And then we integrate with almost all the major property management systems on the market. So anyone who's using a PMS can go and utilize the AI that we've developed to sound exactly like a super host. Sam and I have been managing short-term rentals since beginning of 2021. We're Superhost on the platform. We take our, guest experience, customer service very, very seriously. And so, I wouldn't say we're masters, but I think that's something that any host wants to strive to be a Superhost on Airbnb. And we've developed the AI to sound exactly how we would want our guests to be responded to.
And, we're big on systems and process and building businesses here. So How does it work? Do you have to basically pre-program like FAQs, or how do, say somebody asks about, can I get an early check-in, or where is the parking, or is there a pool? Like how does the AI get information to respond?
Yeah. So we're fully integrated with many PMSs on the market. So what that means is we can access all of the data that is being provided going both ways. So we get to access all of the conversational data that's within the property management system, all of the property details, all the reservations. So we're looking at past conversations, amenities, property descriptions, neighborhood descriptions, anything that we can access from the PMS we're pulling. And so that's how the AI is forming a knowledge base to be able to respond efficiently to the guests. In addition to that, we can also have users upload SOPs, welcome documents. You can really customize it to have any sort of information that you'd like. And that forms the knowledge base for the AI to go and respond most effectively.
Pulls all past guest conversations in?
It's within 6 months, so pretty close. But yeah, and that's an optional feature. If you want to turn that on, you can. A lot of people like to do that because sometimes there's little things like local recommendations that you don't have on your listing that you want the AI to be able to go and pull and provide that to the next guest, or maybe a backup lockbox code that you never provided within a welcome document or something like that. So you'd be surprised once you plug in our AI, the amount of data that it can pull in and be able to use in the future for other guests.
There are certain types of questions that it struggles with.
I wouldn't say there's really any weak link. What we tell people is typically if it's not responding the exact same way that you'd like it to, there's a piece of missing information that you need to go and provide it within the knowledge base. So whether that's troubleshooting information on a specific piece of technology, or something in particular about the property. Maybe it has stairs and you didn't include that anywhere in any of the knowledge base sources. That's something that you need to go and add. So, and this is, another big part of it, but a lot of people ask, like, what if it can't go and respond? What if it doesn't have enough information? And we programmed it to trigger basically an action item that gets sent directly to the host. So that can be sent through a text message, an email, or a Slack message. If you have your team on Slack, it's going to go directly into any of those channels so that you know exactly when you need to hop in. It allows you to stay in the loop and make sure you can track these action items. So there's a whole way to track that within our portal. And then you can have a few different options. So whether you want the AI to respond and say, hey, I don't have that information right now, let me go check with the host and get right back to you. Or if you just don't want it to respond at all, you can basically customize all of that in the settings.
Thinking like as an example, what I was saying earlier, if somebody asks, hey, can I get an early check-in for noon as an example, how would it respond to that? Is it setting up like parameters of like, all right, well, I can go in and program it if we have a same day check-in, check-out, or like how would a situation like that work?
Yeah, so HostBuddy has access to your reservations. And so if you have SOPs that you've uploaded into the system, you can instruct it on how to respond based on certain circumstances. Almost always that will need to be approved by your team. So it's going to trigger an action item and get sent to you directly. The way that our management company works specifically, and I know a lot of our users who use Slack do the same system, where it gets sent into a specific channel in Slack that says action item generated. This guest is looking to check in early or check out late. And then you can go through and actually respond directly in Slack and say, tell this guest that it's okay to check in early at this time. HostBuddy will go off and send that message. So it makes it really easy for you not even have to open up your PMS.
Awesome. So that was the question that I had for you was, does then it lead you back to the platform, or can you text it like a team member? So almost like a VA where you can have a conversation with, where it comes up and it's like, I need to do this, and you approve it, and then it takes care of it by itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the functionality through Slack. We're working on getting that through text and email as well in the future. But that's the idea, is that you can go in and resolve these issues, or action items is what we call them, directly through a Slack channel. And then once they are resolved, HostBuddy is going to be able to automatically complete those tasks within your action items page in the portal. But that's kind of a way where users can go in there and see what things have not been completed. Let me go check this off because I know I've coordinated this on the side. And then there's also individual, it'll basically show you exactly who on your team has gone and completed that message or that action item. That way you can kind of track. So if you have several VAs that are working on HostBuddy, you can make sure that everything's being taken care of.
Awesome. So I got two questions for you. The first question is, if somebody is listening to this and is like, okay, that would be really cool for me to do, what is the realistic onboarding kind of timeline between the time that you feel that host body just gets in to the point that you're like, okay, this is at a satisfactory level of communication?
Yeah. Sam, you want to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I work a lot on the side of working with our customers and getting them stood up within our platform. If you asked us that question a year ago, I would probably say somewhere in the ballpark of like half an hour per property. But we've worked really hard to automate the entire onboarding process to the best of our ability. So kind of the process flow for how that looks and operates is a host will connect their property management system to HostBuddy. We'll then import all of their listings from their property management system into our system. With that, we'll pull in all the conversation data right out of the gate, all the listing descriptions, all the amenities that they have clicked on their PMS will pull in as well. And then if they have like welcome documents and other resources, they'll upload those into our system too. And then we actually have an autofill functionality. So we have a lot of different manual fields that allow for hosts to add their own custom data and information into our system. But with our autofill functionality, you're able to basically pull all of your different connected resources, autofill the different templated fields that we have within our own system to stand up properties as quickly as possible. So typically takes in the ballpark of like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much data you have connected for each listing. I've seen hosts stand up everything in the span of maybe a couple minutes per listing if they're feeling confident with their past conversation history that they have accessible. And then for some hosts, they like to be a little bit more involved in that.
So are you guys seeing, and this wasn't my second question, but it came up as you were speaking. Are you seeing, does HostBuddy now help you better onboard through like what it sees that it's successfully onboarding? Like, does it have an idea of like what does a successful onboard look like now? And does it then trigger the host like, hey, most people have this bit of info, you don't have it, give it to me?
Yeah, so
maybe in nicer terms. I don't know how does it talk to people, but
it's funny you mentioned that. We're actually working on rolling a feature like that out pretty soon here. So we're basically going to have the ability for us to do an assessment of a host's portfolio and their property profiles to determine how filled out and completed those different fields are. Right now, we're basing it on kind of our collective knowledge for what our application needs. We basically built out a ton of different manual fields that all align with the most common questions that hoster asked on like a daily or weekly or monthly basis. So provided a host has the majority of those fields that we have filled out within our system, HostBuddy is going to be pretty much ready to go for the most part. I would say being able to pull in the conversation history is a huge advantage for our hosts where, we'll have 6 months of data and information available right out of the gate for our software application to use for responding to different messages that come in. So to your question, we will have that soon. But currently right now, provided a host has most of the data filled out and information filled out, they'll have a pretty good idea of kind of where they stand for that. And then we also do have some testing functionality, so you can have real-time conversations with our AI as you're standing it up to make sure it's able to answer your complex questions. And that's kind of our host way right now of making sure that they have the information that they need within our system.
Yeah, I love that. And my next question, because for me, the way that I look at AI very humbly is almost like hiring a way smarter, way younger, way faster person into my team. And so for me, it's a chance of like, okay, how do I level up? And so my question to you guys is, how have you seen your property management game level up as you created this product?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think our situation and our experience is particularly interesting because we were, and this kind of ties into our whole origin story of how we got into STR in general, but middle of 2023, we were looking for a solution on the market that does what HostBuddy does. And there was nothing that existed that we could plug into our PMS. So we decided to create it ourselves. But at that time, we scaled up to around 40 properties in a few years, and we're very focused on making sure our systems are very efficient, our tools are efficient as well and effective, and that we're continually training our team to use them. But this is like a completely different class. Like you mentioned, like this is basically like introducing another employee, but you just pay a small monthly fee per listing, and it's plugged in and it's responding immediately. As far as our involvement in our management company, it's been tremendous. We've been able to step back and really just focus on building HostBuddy as a software, but we're also involved in the day-to-day of our business when needed for our management company. We have 2 VAs that work for us, and we honestly could probably just use one, and we're managing 40 properties. We just can't have one VA work 24/7. So we have basically only one VA working at any time and they're only during the day. So Host Buddy's responding to every single message 24/7. Whenever there's any issue or anything that pops up that needs approval, our VAs will get a ping and they'll see the message, the action item, and be able to jump in and take action. So they're really like on-call employees right now. But to give you some metrics, I think Sam, you just took a look this morning at our communication score. It's gone up tremendously since we started.
Yeah, I would say for like our communications rating, we use Airbnb as kind of like our standard, analysis on how we're performing within the industry, because that's where most of our reviews are coming from. And I think guests can be almost more critical on those platforms, which is great. So we've always been pretty strong from a communication rating standpoint. I think we averaged around 94% before we had Host Buddy. This last month, we were at 98%. So it's, still really good metrics for what we had prior to onboarding Host Buddy. But I think we've noticed that there has been a pretty good increase in our overall communication reviews as well. And customers being able to ask a question at 3 a.m. and get a response right away is not something that I think a lot of hosts are able to offer right now. So it can definitely kind of help put people apart in the industry for providing that top tier kind of white glove customer support experience for guests.
Yeah, I love that. Especially like for some of the hosts that may be newer or have smaller portfolios, it can be hard to justify, hiring and building a team. So at the beginning, I know for me, at the very beginning, I was using Hospitable back in the day before it was, Smart B&B, because they had some limited like AI that I could like program, and that bought me back a lot of time. And this sounds like it's like that, but a whole different level and a whole different level of sophistication. And I think it's a great option for people, because to me, say you're a host and you've got 1 or 2 properties and, you're looking for some extra income and this is a great opportunity for you. Maybe you don't want to scale to 10, 20, 30 properties and, have that revenue to support a full team. You can still make a good living and have a good amount of your time back with something like this. And even as you scale, it drastically reduces your headcount, and you're basically just paying for people to monitor it and make sure that they're keeping eyes and ears on everything and answering any questions that fall through the cracks. I'm curious, and maybe this is you guys or a different user, but my brain goes to like building out this machine that like can pretty much respond to everything. And are there any like use cases where you've seen somebody, use this at a level where you were like, man, that is wild, like how they've really maxed out what you guys have built?
I think the great thing about Host Buddy is that we can fit into any portfolio. And so like you just said, like if we have people who they don't use VAs and they have 20, 30 properties. And that to me is impressive, because I think that they still need to be involved for, vendor coordination and cleaner coordination and all those things. What we're really focusing on doing right now is being able to bring everything all into one place so that you can coordinate your cleaning team and they can all be involved. You can coordinate your maintenance team. They can be involved based on guest messages. So we're really starting to see a lot of our users do that. And there's ways that you can send specific action items so that, say, a cleaning specific action item gets sent to your cleaner, or a maintenance specific item gets sent to your handyman or something like that. I think every day, there's new use cases for users that come to us and either asking us questions or just showing us what they're doing. And I think one thing in particular that stands out to me is something that we didn't intend to have Host Buddy used for, is the direct booking site chat widget, essentially. So you have basically a chatbot there who is Host Buddy, waiting to answer any questions that a potential booker might want to ask. And that's something that we were able to implement afterwards, where our initial functionality was responding directly through the PMS, and now we're able to support people and allow them to have a higher booking conversion, because now you have all of the questions answered right on your homepage of your direct booking site. So that's pretty cool. We have a lot of different features that go beyond just the automated messaging. So upselling vacant nights. So if you have a gap night that's created by a minimum stay requirement, such as a 2-night minimum, and you have a 1-night gap in between, our system will automatically detect that and send out an upsell message to the guest that's, say, checking in the day after or checking out the day before, asking them if they want to extend. And so these are opportunities where you're able to not only automate your messaging, but now maximize your revenue. And we're seeing people come to us saying, we've been able to convert 3 or 4, 5 or 6 upsell opportunities this month. And that's earned us over $1,000 just by using this tool. And that's something that they used to try to do manually, but it's hard to track all of that. And so that's something that's really cool that I think at the very beginning, we're really focused on making the AI agent be as hospitable and efficient as possible. And we did that. And then moving on from there, it's like, how do we plug in all these additional things to make sure that the operations for our users make sense? And we're constantly looking at feedback from all of our users to make sure that we're doing that. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff that we're working on, but we're definitely impressed every day with creative ways that people are finding to use our product.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what I was getting at, is when you get it to the place where it can basically fill in almost as an operations manager, as a coordinator. So if somebody has a maintenance issue, it can detect that, reach out to the local contractor or handyman, or if there's a cleaning issue, it can reach back out to the cleaner and notify your team. Just do quarterbacking as well as the guest communication, I think, is huge opportunity, because the guest, back and forth messaging is great, but there's the other facets of the business of coordinating the cleaning, the maintenance, any one-off requests, upsells, all those other things. The website chat widget I was going to ask you about, because I think that's a great feature as well. It's really cool what you guys built, man. Like, seriously, this is really cool. I think this is just the future of where we're going.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Do you have any integrations in terms of like other famous or popular kind of like platforms in the tech stack the hosts typically use that you guys have now integrated with?
Yeah. And I think it's funny. We were talking before getting on this podcast about how Sam and I used to listen to short-term rental secrets, like when we were getting started. And I think that's like just focusing on, finding the right tools is really important for every host. And I think podcasts like this are how we discovered using cleaning management software and dynamic pricing and things like that. So, we're long time Turno users. We also use Minute for noise monitoring. So those are two that we targeted right at the bat, where, this is a perfect opportunity to partner with these companies, ones that we're already familiar with and we have a relationship with, and be able to benefit the rest of our user base. So essentially what we do with Turno is, as soon as a cleaner reports that a cleaning is finished within the property, so they mark, they just finished up the cleaning, they hit done, that information gets directly shared to HostBuddy, and HostBuddy is able to offer an early check-in to that guest that's checking in that day. So say they finished at 1 p.m., your check-in's not till 4. A lot of times, it's a lot of coordination to go and see when cleanings are finished, have your VAs go and offer the early check-in. And our big initiative is just automating all these processes. So just making it much easier for not only the host to automate these things, but also we're improving the guest experience by offering them these early check-ins and things like that. And so that also turns into a revenue maximization strategy too, right? So you can offer, hey, the unit should be ready for you here pretty soon. If you'd like to check in early, we can offer that at a $20 fee or something like that, if you're a host that wants to charge for those things. And so that's something that we're doing right now. We're also working on implementing the basically issues or problems, I think is what Turno calls it, within their cleaner reporting. So as soon as a cleaner reports a problem, say there's a broken chair or something, that gets directly shared into the HostBuddy portal. And then HostBuddy is able to, you can hold that as an action item and manage that throughout the whole process, so that your team makes sure that everything is seen within HostBuddy. And so there's a lot of cool applications there. I think Turno's a perfect one, and just making sure that everything's connected. Minute is really cool as well now. And maybe Sam, you can touch on that, because I think Sam had that whole integration process.
Yeah, I am still getting used to calling it Minute. I thought it was Minute for like the longest time. And we met the founder of the company, and I went up to him and I'm like, oh, we've been using Minute for like 5 years now. And he's like, it's not Minute. Anyways, Minute's a great tool for maybe listeners that aren't familiar with it. Essentially what it is like a little disk that you can plug in and like essentially attach to your ceiling in your rental unit. And it tracks things like noise volume. It'll even track things like humidity, smoking. It basically gives you insights into things that are going on within your property without compromising the security of your guests. So since it's not necessarily recording or taking videos or anything like that within the unit, it gives you some visibility into what's going on with the people staying at your property without you having to compromise that or get a phone call from a neighbor saying, hey, your guest is being loud. So we partnered with them, I guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But essentially that integration, the way that it works is someone will have the Minute sensor inside their property. And when it registers that a guest is being excessively loud or breaking someone's noise thresholds or someone smoking in the unit, we're able to essentially set up templated messages that go out to guests. So HostBuddy, outside of doing guest communication and the upsells that we have built out what we call smart templates. Basically what they do is offer hosts the ability to create templated messages that have AI built in on top of them. For the minute integration in particular, let's say a guest is being super loud inside of a property, it'll flag that and notify HostBuddy that the guest has broken that threshold. And then you can essentially have messages that go out to guests saying something like, hey, you've broken our noise threshold. If you guys can please quiet down, that'd be great. Maybe 10, 15 minutes later, we'll recheck again to see if they're still breaking that rule and that threshold, and basically follow back up with them again until that noise event or issue has been resolved. But with the smart templates, what's really cool is we actually have things like context checking and then also AI personalization. So for example, with the AI personalization, the message that's going out to the guest might change the message from your typical templated message to say something like, hey, we know that you guys are having, a birthday party for your 50th birthday. That being said, it is past our quiet hours and you guys are breaking our noise threshold. If you guys are able to quiet down, that would be great. So it kind of brings that personalization in. So it seems like it's less of an automated message and more of something where it's like the host is the one that's actually reaching out to me for this particular issue. And then we also have context checking too, where maybe the guest replies and says, hey, we'll quiet down. I'm so sorry about this. It'll basically delay the trigger for rechecking back in with that guest to bring up the noise complaint with them again as well. That's kind of how that integration works.
That's awesome, because my old grumpy Clint Eastwood mind was thinking about that now, right? Because my biggest complaint with AI a lot of the times, even when you use the chat GPTs and everything else to help you write things, it sounds super clunky. And so is there a way that HostBuddy customizes the language to the specific? So especially since you see the chat history, if Mike and I are both on HostBuddy, do our conversation style reflect in how the machine talks to guests on our behalf?
Yeah, so we do have some training in our system to follow the communication style of the hosts themselves. So being able to pull in your past 6 months of conversation history, we try our best to distinguish between maybe your templated messages and when you're actually being involved in conversations. But if you send smiley faces often, our system will match that and send smiley faces. It'll try to match the same grammar and kind of cadence that you have within your communication with your guests. And then on top of that too, for maybe newer hosts or hosts that are trying to change the way that their own communication is coming across with our system, we do actually have a lot of customization settings within HostBuddy. So you can even go in yourself and kind of write out your own kind of personalization for the way that it's communicating. So we do have some customization features for that.
So you guys have made some amazing progress. Sounds like a really cool product. I don't know if you could talk about it, but where do you see this going and what's on the horizon for HostBuddy and what are you guys looking at going forward?
Yeah, I think our main goal is to always continue improving the AI so that its capabilities are beyond what people expect them to be. And I think we're already at that point. You mentioned, people use ChatGPT every day, and you get responses sometimes that come through as a large paragraph, and it's clunky, and it's not something that you always, it's not something that you'd expect to come from you as a host. But what we've created is far, far beyond that. And what we find is our users, as soon as they plug it in for automated messaging, they see that it's really impressive the way that it responds, and it's conversational, and it's asking clarifying questions and sounding very hospitable, offering certain things to the guests. It's not hallucinating, which is really important. That's something that is a general problem with AI, and that's something that we've eliminated and then we have before we even launched the product. So as hosts, we've focused on mastering that portion of it and really making sure that people can trust our product. And so the great thing about having a software product in the AI space is that AI in general is always going to continue to improve. And so our product will improve alongside of it. As we continue to use the new models that release. Continuing to evaluate what is most effective for the hosts that use our product, listening to the feedback that they have. We have a lot of things in the pipeline that we're working on now. I don't know how many things we really want to announce, but I think, like you mentioned, Mike, bringing in a lot of those operational components of looping in everybody, that way your existing systems can work efficiently with HostBuddy, and that you don't need to take too many extra steps to go and take action. It's not just about having a quick response to the guests. It's about tying in the rest of the process and making your entire operation efficient. So Sam and I have a really great perspective as hosts. We're still involved in our daily operations when decisions need to be made. And we've taught our employees very well to be able to handle certain things. So, we've been able to build this tool so far to be as effective as possible. It's really exciting what the future holds. And I think we have an overwhelming amount of development in the pipeline. So really excited to push that pretty soon.
I love it. I love it. Well, before we get into the last question, first I want to acknowledge you guys and thank you for building this, because I know it's going to benefit thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of hosts in this industry. Where can the listeners learn more about you and everything that's going on with HostBuddy?
Yeah, so hostbuddy.ai is our website. We post a lot on social media too. So if you go to hostbuddy_AI on Instagram, you can find me and Sam on there. You'll find us on the page. But I think the best way to learn about it is go to our website, hostbuddy.ai, and you can sign up for a free demo. Everyone gets a 14-day free trial with their account too. So it's super simple just to plug in, and you'll be really impressed with the responses. We're also the only AI messaging solution that puts our AI messaging on the front pages of our website for people to try out. So there's a little tab at the top that says Meet HostBuddy, and you can go in there and try out the AI for yourself and just play around with some responses or messages that you typically see guests send. So I think that's our big advantage in the industry right now is our AI responses, and we love to share that with everyone.
Yeah, and on top of going to our website and testing out HostBuddy for yourself, reading about the solution, what we offer, we also do have a special coupon code for STR Secrets podcast listeners. So if you go to sign up for HostBuddy, when you first sign up, you can put in capital STR, capital Secrets, and that will allow for you to get your first month free for our software to try it out for yourself. So we like to let our product speak for itself. So we definitely think it's good for new customers to try us out, and before they have to pay for anything, make sure that it actually fits into what they're looking for their business.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. The last question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your number one secret to success with short-term rentals?
Yeah, and I've thought about this too, because I'm a listener of the podcast. So yeah, I think the response that I give, I think at a high level, is always evaluating your systems and tools. But I think going even deeper into that, for us, the success that we've seen in the past year and a half has been automating specifically the messaging, obviously with HostBuddy, and then talking about kind of what that's done for us is, yes, we do use virtual assistants with our company. A lot of people think, okay, you're automating your messages so you can fire your virtual assistants. And some people do that. We don't recommend that all the time, depending on your portfolio. But what I do want to mention is that frees up a lot of the time for our team to go and focus on optimizing our listings, looking for deals, coordinating vendors, ordering resupplies, things like that. Now, where if they're tied up by just sending repetitive guest messages all day, they're just maintaining your business and they're not growing it. And Sam and I, we like to stay involved in our property management business, but it's really just running itself at this point. And we hop in every once in a while when decisions need to be made. And that's the beauty of having automation on the back end, just taking care of all the messaging. And I think a really important part in a way that the landscape is changing right now is that Airbnb guests expect instant replies any hour of the day. And that's the advantage that we have as HostBuddy users and obviously co-founders, but our software is going to respond to them at any hour of the day. They're going to get a perfect response that sounds exactly like you, and they know that they're taken care of, and your review scores are going to increase as well, allowing you to increase your average daily rate, so on and so forth. So I think that's really been big for us, and being able to capitalize on the development of AI in the recent past has been huge.
Love it. Sam, what do you got?
Yeah, I'd say
that's a tough one to follow, Sam. That was a great answer, Jay. Let's see what Sam got for us.
Yeah, I'd say for Jay and I with Select Stays, which is our property management company, early on, we tried to do everything ourselves. We used to clean all of our own units. We used to price every single unit. We had no property management system, so we're communicating on Airbnb and on Vrbo and on Booking.com and trying to do all these different things on our own. I think that with this industry specifically and being able to scale your business, you really need to invest in systems and people. So being able to take the time to train people to jump in and help you out with your company and be able to gain trust in them and be able to let them go out on their own. I know for Jay and I, when we first started building HostBuddy, we realized that this was going to be something that was going to take off for us, and we were going to be putting a lot of time into it. So we hired our now director of operations, Danielle. She oversees the majority of our day-to-day operations for all of our maintenance and cleaning management, things like that. We've invested a lot of time into training our VAs to be able to take on all of our backend things and really help us out with maintenance ordering and scheduling and putting together financial sheets and things like that too. And we've also invested a ton into different systems. So outside of HostBuddy, we have Price Labs and Cherno and our property management system and a bunch of other tech items that are able to come in and really allow for us to not have to be the ones doing everything within our own business, because it's impossible to scale if you're trying to hold 100 different things on your own plate. I'd say investing in both people and systems would be my secret to success.
Music to my ears. Systems, process, and people.
Yes,
awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate it. For listeners out there, go check out HostBuddy, use code STR Secrets, all caps, and get a free month. Thank you guys for that. Really excited for the listeners to check you guys out. And that is it for this week, everybody. Hope you have an amazing week. We'll talk to you soon.